Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. Good to see everyone again. Good to see everyone jumping into the chat. I promised I would do another one of these this week. Just a couple days ago, whenever we did our last chat, we did that on Tuesday, I believe. Right whenever the March NPD data came out. And it was a great stream. It was an awesome stream. It was the first time that we had over 100 people in the chat all at once. So, of course, that led to a bunch of questions. So I promised we were going to have a second stream this week. That way I could get to any questions that I missed on Tuesday in regards to NPD data. And also that we could talk about any news that dropped, of course, over the last couple of days, which there is a little bit of them. Very quick off the bat first, I just want to give a quick shout out to Split End 89. Split End has offered to help moderate the chat. My chat is very fortunate in that 99.99999% of the stuff is extremely positive and extremely good. But we have had a couple weird situations where people have said a few weird things in chat. So thank you, Split End 89, for jumping in and help moderating the chat. And thanks everyone for being here. So the way this works, like always, most of you that are going to be in here are going to be, regulars, but drop those questions to the side, drop those comments on the side, and we can talk about whatever it is you want to discuss. Not sure how long today's chat's going to go for. It just completely depends on what the turnout's going to be. I'm not expecting, to have 100+ people in here again like we had on Tuesday. Tuesday was a really big day because of that NPD data. So I'm sure it's not going to be that level, but we'll stream as long as it takes, whether it's 30 minutes, whether it's an hour, and we'll break down whatever it is you want to talk about. Couple things we can chat on. A bunch of new Horizon Zero Dawn 2 rumors dropped today, courtesy of VGC.com online. VideoGameChronicles.com is, I believe, the full name of the website. So there's a whole bunch we can talk about in regards to Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Phil Spencer has teased that Xbox Series X next-gen game reveals are coming up very soon, that we're getting really close to it, so we can talk about that, what we're expecting, what games we want to see, and all of that and more. So I'm going to start jumping into your questions, jumping into your comments, and make sure you drop those on the side. Thanks, everyone, again, for joining the live chat. Let's get going. WonderFizz saying, what's up? What is up, WonderFizz? Good to see you. And a question right off the bat from WonderFizz. Which IP do you wish would make a return, Benji? Ooh, really quick, fun question. This one for me is very easy. Anyone that knows me knows I am a massive Alan Wake fan. So if I could have any IP come back, I would love to see an Alan Wake sequel. That game kind of left off on a bit of a cliffhanger. They addressed it a little bit in the smaller DLC game, Alan Wake's American Nightmare, but there's still so much more there to explore. So WonderFizz, if I could have any IP come back, it would absolutely be Alan Wake. Pierre485. Hey, Benji, what do you think could be the big game for Nintendo this holiday? Good question. Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Mario 3D Collection, ? That's a great question, Pierre485, because we do not have anything dated for Nintendo in terms of major games after Xenoblade Chronicles at the very end of May. So, you have basically the entire rest of the year with no indication on what games there's going to be. There's lots of rumors that yes, there are Mario remakes or remasters on the way. Some of the rumored ones are Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 64. I suspect you'll definitely see those this year. There's kind of too much smoke for that fire. Like, there's a lot of rumors all over the place about it. So I think that's probably pretty darn true. When that's going to hit, who knows? Breath of the Wild 2, I think, would be ideal if they could get that out in time for holiday. It would be huge, of course. It would be massive. But, we don't know because we've only seen that announcement trailer and it's been basically radio silence since then. So we actually don't really know the state of that game, how close it is to coming out. Hopefully we hear some big things from Nintendo soon, Pierre 485, because as amazing as March was for their sales in the US and really globally, the US was kind of the most shocking one because the performance was so massive. But the Switch did amazing in Japan. It did amazing in UK. It was way up in the UK. So, it's selling amazing right now. But definitely, if they want to keep momentum going, if they really want another huge holiday, they are going to need something big, Pierre. So hopefully we hear something soon. Nintendo, I definitely think, needs to start talking about their release calendar because it's pretty empty after Xenoblade. Musad Muhammad. Hey, Benji, dope Horizon Zero Dawn news. Is it safe to assume Spider-Man and God of War will also be trilogies? Good question. So since this is the first time that we have Horizon Zero Dawn brought up in the chat, let's talk about those new rumors. I definitely encourage you to go to VGC.com, Video Game Chronicles, and read that article because there's going to be more there than what I'm going to talk about. But a couple of the big rumors around Horizon Zero Dawn 2. First of all is that the game apparently, entered development very shortly after Horizon Zero Dawn 1 was completed, which makes sense to me. That's kind of something I was suspecting. Apparently, from the very beginning, Guerrilla envisioned this as more than one game, right? Which anyone who's played the game, zero spoilers, but it's clearly indicated in the game that, yes, they wanted this story to continue. So that's not surprising. Apparently, the plan, at least as of now, is for that series to be a trilogy. So we already had one, so at least 2 more Horizon games in the works. Probably the biggest surprise to the rumor is that co-op of some form is probably being implemented in Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Now, whether that's going to be, full co-op through the entire game or if it's going to be like a separate co-op mode, isn't quite known. They don't necessarily go into that, just that from the sources they're hearing, co-op is definitely a factor in Horizon Zero Dawn 2. And also, again, not too surprising, but pretty exciting, is they say that the scope is gigantic, that it's much bigger than the original Horizon Zero Dawn in terms of like the scope for this game. So pretty exciting rumors, I agree. As to Spider-Man and God of War, definitely, I suspect both of those, Musad Muhammad, to be trilogies. The first entries in both those games were gigantic, and they're going to want to cash in on those. And I don't mean cash in terms of like a negative way, like, oh, they're just money grabbing. I don't mean like that, because those games were amazing. But what I mean is you don't have successes like that and you don't pursue sequels, multiple sequels. So yeah, Musad Muhammad, I would expect trilogies on both of those for sure. KH, yo, Benji, what is up? Hey, what's up? Hope you and your family are doing fine. Yep, doing good. Question, which gaming surprises will be bigger? The one from Microsoft or Sony? Greets from Germany, as always. Yeah, so this is probably referencing a tweet that I made online where I said the amount of investment going on in terms of first-party AAA games at both Sony and Microsoft is huge for next gen, and also that there are going to be surprises from both. KH, I have heard a little bit. I am not going to claim to be Mr. Ultimate Insider who knows everything, because that's not really my business. I know a little bit of stuff, but I'm not, again, top tier insider in terms of that stuff. But from what I'm hearing, KH, in terms of who's going to be a bigger surprise, I'll let y'all make that decision, but there's going to be some really exciting stuff on the way. Plastic Hearts Podcast. Not a fan of that Xbox logo, but definitely respect Microsoft. Sorry, I scrolled too far down. Sorry, I hit the scroll button and it jumped way down on questions. Not a fan of the Xbox logo, but definitely respect Microsoft for making moves and being willing to change. Yeah, I've seen a lot of mixed takes on the Series X logo. My thoughts on it are, it's not the most exciting logo I've ever seen, for sure. It's not like I look at the Series X logo and I'm like, my goodness, this thing is just amazing, blowing my mind. But I don't hate it either. It seems fine for me. I get what Microsoft's going for, right? It's a really clean logo. It's pretty simple. It's something that's very easy for branding, right? You can slap that logo on basically anything in terms of like merch or anything. It's very simple, conveys the message easily. So I think that's what Microsoft's going there for. I've seen a lot of people compare it to that it almost looks like an athletics brand, like clothing. And I actually kind of agree with that. It does have a bit of that vibe, doesn't it? I think the most important thing about it is how it is series vertical and then the X. It's very easy to convert that logo to other things, right? To make it like a series S, for example. So I think that's the biggest takeaway is clearly it's going to play into the marketing of the other Xbox model that we have coming, whether that's called Series S or whatever it is, codenamed Lockhart. Yeah, that's the biggest takeaway for me. Eric saying, good day to you, sir. Good day to you, Eric. Thanks for jumping in the chat. GC2F guy, do you believe Grand Theft Auto 6 might get announced in May? Ooh, GC2F guy, I think it's too early. You know, we do have some rumors floating around about the next Grand Theft Auto. Jason Schreier from Kotaku, well, I shouldn't even say Kotaku anymore. Jason Schreier from Bloomberg now just wrote a piece recently for Kotaku. And yeah, one thing he mentioned is that Grand Theft Auto 6 is in development, that's Rockstar's next big game. GC2F guy, I think it's still too soon. I don't think you'll see it in May. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think that game's coming that soon. So I wouldn't expect to see Grand Theft Auto 6 announced probably until next year. You know, probably 2021 is when you see that game announced, I would think. I think we're still a little bit too early because I don't think Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out next year. If it was releasing next year in 2021, it would make sense, but I don't think it is. I think we're still a little bit too early. Remember, Red Dead 2 didn't come out that long ago, and, you know, Rockstar's games are massive projects. So I don't think so, GC2F guy. I would expect Grand Theft Auto 6 next year to be announced. Split End 89, so excited to see Horizon news. What do you think of the co-op idea? Yeah, let's talk about that. Will it be more optional and just an additional mode or a main feature? So again, I've seen a lot of very mixed opinions on co-op being added into Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Here's what I'll say. Here's my thoughts on it. First, let's talk about just as a personal, and then I'll talk about the business side of it. So I'm okay with it as long as it doesn't feel really forced and takes away a bit from the design of the game, because I love Horizon Zero Dawn 1. It's actually up there with my absolute favorite PlayStation 4 games. It's probably, for me, top 5 for sure of my favorite PS4 exclusive games. It might even be higher than that. Off the top of my head, I'm not doing a strict ranking, but it's definitely in my top 5. Could be even in my top 3 favorite PS4 exclusives. So I loved that game. It was single player only, and I adored it. I just hope that if co-op is like a whole game aspect, it's something that's going to be incorporated from front to back, that it is handled well. That's the only risk for me. Aloy is such a cool character. They did such a good job like exploring her journey. Splitting that with another protagonist that's there the whole time, it could mess a little bit with the balance and the story. So I'm not super against it, but I would say it's a tightrope to walk. Now, if it's an additional mode, I think I would be more on board with that. That would be actually a lot of fun if they have some kind of additional co-op mode where it's going out, it's like hunting these big giant robots, doing a big co-op, really focused thing. I think I would be more excited for that split end than if it's, just completely front to back co-op. But I don't hate the idea. I just want to see how the implementation is. In terms of business, it makes a lot of sense. Sony doesn't have a ton of big online games, in terms of first party. If you look at their games, God of War, single player only. Spider-Man, single player only. Horizon Zero Dawn, single player only. Days Gone. You know what? You see where I'm going? You can go on and on. Sony makes a lot of big single player games. So I get the draw of wanting to incorporate some kind of multiplayer component into your first party games. You know, there are a lot of people that play online. So I get it. In terms of business, I totally get it. It doesn't sound like this is a situation where Sony's, pressuring Gorilla to do it. It sounds like Gorilla wanted to do that anyways, but I get the thought process behind it. Joseki, hi Benji, what do you think of the digital only, TV only Nintendo Switch hardware data mined in the OS? Ooh. Rumor in the Nintendo hacking community was that it was coming next year, cheaper than light. Well, I haven't followed these rumors as closely. If that's true, wow, that is a interesting direction for Nintendo and not one I would have expected. Digital only, that's the part that surprises me. A TV only Switch doesn't necessarily shock me. Digital only, interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. I would have to see a little bit more info on it. I'll tell you this, Joseki, in terms of sales, just totally personally, I wouldn't expect that honestly to be a huge hit. Honestly, I think they would sell some, but I don't think it would be at the level of the regular Switch or the Lite even. I think it would be below both of those in terms of sales, unless it offered some kind of like big graphics bump. Unless it's doing something like that. But if it's just basically a cheap digital only one you connect to your TV, I would actually expect that to be the worst selling of the three models. I think it would sell below standard Switch and below Lite. Fintendo. Hi, Benji. I was supposed to have exams this month, but they were canceled. Yeah, and I want to be productive. Is there any data visualization websites? Ooh, fun question. You could recommend that I can use for game sales? Thanks. Good question, Fintendo. Ooh, there's not a ton of sites dedicated to this. Here's a couple ones I would recommend, Fintendo. If you want to start exploring the Japanese library, the Japanese sales, how games sell in Japan, I'd recommend Game Data Library. They have a big, really, you can search historical data, current data for basically any system, any console, any games for Japan sales. Game Data Library is a fun one to explore. They have a nice search option. You can kind of type in anything that you want and you can search it right up, and it has, historical data in there. It'll have its launch sales. That's a great resource. So something like that. Fintendo, if you're not on Twitter, Twitter helps following certain people. There's some really great salespeople on there. There's, Daniel Ahmed. There is Matt Piscatella. There's a whole bunch of people like that. Another fun thing you could do, Fintendo, is dive into some historical NPD sales. Which you could really just do that searching a month and the date. Let's say you want to look at January 2018 NPD. Just type that into Google and you'll bring it up. You can look at the top rankers and things like that. Those would be some resources if you're kind of just looking to explore sales. That's some stuff I'd recommend. Annexen Hume saying, way to step up, Split End 89. Yes, very much. Thank you, Split End, for helping moderate. You're awesome. Elias Stapleton, one, what do you think will be the lineup of PS5 at launch and the games exclusive at the first year? And two, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, how big do you think it will be? Fun question. I'll tell you what. I thought Horizon Zero Dawn 2 was definitely going to be in the first 12 months of the PlayStation 5 launch, because looking at Sony's studios, they seem to be one of the ones that would probably be the most ready. Like I said before, that game came out before Spider-Man and before God of War. So I was thinking Sony Santa Monica is not going to be there probably in that first year. Insomniac, at least with Spider-Man's probably not going to be in there in that first year. Maybe they'll have a Ratchet and Clank game. Now that they're saying the scope is much bigger for Horizon Zero Dawn 2, now that we know they're adding co-op elements, which is going to take a lot of work, now I'm starting to wonder if that really is a first-year PlayStation game? I'm not sure. It's making me question it more than I did before. In terms of launch, I've kind of said this before. As a total guess, Ratchet, because I'm not going to talk about a few things that I actually do know a little bit about. These are guesses. I don't leak things. So maybe Ratchet and Clank from Insomniac. That seems like it might be ready, or at least close to launch. Ratchet and Clank's a much smaller scope than something like Spider-Man, so I could see that ready. I definitely think Blue Point Games game is going to be a launch title. I'm pretty certain of that, actually, that Blue Point's going to be there right at launch, their big project that they're working on. And then in third party, of course, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed seem to be the big ones. Also, just recently revealed by VGC, apparently Watch Dogs Legion is targeting that launch time frame as well. So it'd be interesting because that would be two open world games from Ubisoft close to each other, Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs. So that could be interesting to see how they space those, because you wouldn't want them right on top of each other. KH, since I can never pronounce this, Dengeki will not offer official numbers anymore, do you think Famitsu, I've had a lot of people talk to me about this, do you think Famitsu will end that as well soonish? KH, let's hope not, because what a blow to the sales community would that be if all of the charts are just gone now for sales tracking. That'd be a huge bummer. So anyone that follows Japan, we used to have the Media Create sales. We used to have Famitsu. We used to have a couple things that we could look at. Well, now Media Create's behind a paywall, kind of like how NPD is. So it's, you don't just publicly get those numbers anymore. And right now, Famitsu is really the big game in town to track Japan sales. So KH for now, I don't think it's going to end, but man, that would be a huge bummer. It would make tracking the Japanese market much more difficult. Isma0612. Hello, Benji. I wanted your opinion about a smaller game. Yeah, sure. Trials of Mana. Ooh, do you think the game could chart on the NPD top 20? How is the split looking? Thanks. So I haven't seen any data yet for Trials of Mana. So I don't actually have much I can talk about in terms of split, just because I haven't seen a bunch. My guess, though, Isma, is I actually think this will do well on Switch particularly, right? This is on Switch, isn't it? I'm almost positive. Let me just make sure of that, because I don't want to... Yeah, Switch. Yep. So I would think that Switch actually might be kind of the lead platform on this. I could see it doing well on PS4 as well, but JRPGs have been doing very strong on the Switch. So I could see it doing really well there. Do I think it'll make top 20? Let's think. What all is going to be on there in April for it to compete with? Definitely some Nintendo evergreens. You're going to see stuff like Mario Kart. You're going to see Animal Crossing. You're going to see Smash. You're going to see Pokemon probably. So there's like 4 of your top 20 already at least. Could even see a couple other ones slip in there. You're going to have Resident Evil on that chart. You're going to have Final Fantasy on that chart. Some sports games. I'll tell you what, Isma, it might be difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible it makes top 20, but if so, I don't expect it to be very high on that top 20, which doesn't mean it would be a bomb, because the expectations for something like that aren't going to be like huge. So I would say, Isma, not impossible to hit top 20, but if so, don't expect top 10, I don't think. But I'm saying this before seeing really a lot of data. I would say probably lower end of that top 20 if it does happen. Sean Capri saying, I'm here for the eye candy and smart candy. Thank you, Sean. I'll take it. I don't know that I consider myself some eye candy, but I'll take it. I will definitely not complain with a compliment. And then saying thumbs up in the chat. Yeah, if you don't mind hitting that like button, if you're in the chat, always appreciate the likes. It helps out the YouTube algorithm for getting the channel discovered. Can be 2 straight weeks of low Switch sales in Japan. Yep, due to shortages. It's brutal. Is supply keeping up better in US from what you've seen? Can be. Here's what I'll say. So the US, I am still expecting a record for April for the current generation, but stock isn't great. So basically, I kind of commented on this on Tuesday's chat. As soon as inventory happens, as soon as stores, locations, GameStops, Walmarts, anywhere, basically anywhere, as soon as they are getting stock, it is gone. It is in, out, in, out, in, out. So basically, the limit of April sales for NPD is going to be strictly how many Nintendo was able to get into stores that then immediately sold. There's going to be basically nothing just sitting on shelves in April. It's not really going to happen. I do still think there's enough there for an April current gen record. I don't think it's quite as bad as what Japan's saying. Japan is like really suffering. Yes, the last 2 weeks have been like really, 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 really rough. US is looking better than Japan, but still very supply constrained. So, you know what I mean? So, good result I'm expecting for April, but definitely constrained. Elias Stapleton here with another question. PS4 selling big in Japan, Nintendo selling really big in Japan, and Xbox in Japan, I think not even 1,000 consoles really bad. Do you think Xbox is dead in Japan? Honest opinion, please. Elias, I will always give my honest opinion. The answer to that question is yes. Xbox is dead in Japan, at least currently. Whether they can turn that around in the future, who knows? They tried really hard with the Xbox 360. It's kind of easy to forget, but, back then they had like Lost Odyssey that was an exclusive. They had Blue Dragon that was an exclusive. There was Tales of Vesperia that was exclusive for a while and then eventually went to PS3 and stuff. Microsoft tried really hard in the 360 generation, and they actually saw some success in Japan. Not huge. Don't think that like the 360 did amazing in Japan, but it did like by Xbox standards, kind of okay. But yeah, the Xbox One is just truly, it is dead. Like it is dead in Japan. I don't think that's necessarily a permanent thing. I think next gen, theoretically here, folks, this is not an actual prediction by me. I'm just saying with the right type of investment, I could see next gen Microsoft doing better at least than Xbox One. I don't know if it'll even hit the 360 levels in Japan because that's just a brutal market for them. But Xbox One sales in Japan are so bad that it wouldn't take much for next gen Xbox to do better than the Xbox One did. So tough to say. I don't think it's impossible. Microsoft could find slight success there, but they will never, seriously, never in Japan be at the level of PlayStation or Nintendo. It's just not going to happen. The market is just not there for them in there. And they won't even really be close. You know what I mean? Not even close, but maybe better than Xbox One. So I hope that answers your question. Moist and Delicious. Will there be a new Fable for Series X? It sure looks like it, Moist and Delicious. Also, what do you think Blue Point's game will be? So, like I've said before, I actually don't know anyone at Blue Point. I have zero connections at Blue Point, so this is just theorizing here. Demon Souls seems to be the most accurate one. Several people that are very reliable have hinted that Blue Point's game is a Demon Souls remake. There's also been some hints, maybe Metal Gear Solid 1, that could be something that's in development. If I had to guess, Moist and Delicious, I would say Demon Souls just because that has the most fire behind it. And yes, it definitely looks like Playground Games, who make the Forza Horizon games, that they are making a Fable reboot for next gen, which I am so excited for. Seriously excited for a Fable on next gen. So Moist and Delicious, yeah, looks like Fable is coming back. And next, Horizon Zero Dawn rumors said they wanted to do Flight, yes, but couldn't. Yep, this is absolutely true. They tried to do Flight in Horizon Zero Dawn 1, but it couldn't happen due to HDD limitations. Would you think Flight in Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or do you think it will be too much of a disruption to the gameplay? That's a great question. I think it is going to happen. Just guessing here, but I think they are going to try to have some sort of flyable mounts in Horizon Zero Dawn 2 because we know it's something they've explored before and they were just held back by the PS4 itself. So yeah, I would think that they would re-explore that. Now, to what level? Is it one of those things where you can just fly anywhere in the world? Don't know about that, or at least maybe not until like later in the game when you get abilities, because if you can just fly anywhere right off the bat, it would disrupt the gameplay a lot, the flow. So I could see one of those things being like maybe later in the game, you'll unlock the ability to be able to ride those flying creatures. You know what I mean? Armador, hi Benji. Any update how the Switch stock looks in USA? Yeah, just touched on this. Not great, Armador. It's basically switches come in, switches go out, real time. Boom, 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 boom. So not great. KH, the IP Horizon Zero Dawn, in what comparison to a Nintendo IP does it stand? Is it, in your opinion, as big as Splatoon or Luigi's Mansion? Since they're growing on Switch is immense. Hope you understand what I mean. Horizon Zero Dawn's really big, KH. It's become a very big franchise. It sold over 10 million copies on the PS4, the first game, over 10. And actually by now it's probably quite a bit over 10 million because that number came out a while ago. So Horizon Zero Dawn's big. Yeah, it's a seriously big game for Sony. And I suspect the sequel, they're expecting that to sell even better than the first game. So Horizon, in terms of Sony's rankings for their IP, it's up there. It's one of their biggest IP now over at Sony. So it makes sense why they're putting a big budget behind the sequel, why they're wanting to do a trilogy. Makes sense. The first one was a huge success. In terms of directly comparing it to Luigi's Mansion or Splatoon, somewhere around there. It's a bit of a difficult comparison because you're talking Nintendo effect versus PlayStation, whereas Splatoon and Luigi's Mansion are growing, but Splatoon is really big for Nintendo, specifically in Japan. It's done well in other markets as well, but Splatoon is like huge in Japan. So they're a bit of a different situation. Isma0612. Whoops. Sorry, the scroll keeps getting messed up. Oh, that's just a response to somebody else. Elias Stapleton. Horror is coming big. Where's Dead Space? I know, right? That IP needs to be revived in forms of sequels, reboots, agreed, remakes, remaster, something. Benji, what do you think? I think if EA just sits on the Dead Space franchise forever, they're making a gigantic mistake. Honestly, I think it's a huge mistake to just sit on that. We've seen with Resident Evil, that franchise is on fire again. There was a little bit where Resident Evil looked a little shaky, but now it's back on fire. Dead Space absolutely should come back, Elias. Like you said, whether that is a sequel, whether it's a reboot, even a nice remaster or remake would be nice, something. Leaving Dead Space just on the shelf would be a terrible choice by EA, in my opinion. Ruby. Hey, Benji, you are doing great. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you for the nice words. Do you think Switch is tracking good for April? Yep. I think you are tracking very good for April, too. Yes. I think you say there are tracking. I think you might also be asking how Xbox and PlayStation are doing as well as Switch. Yes, April is going to be a huge month for the industry. Very big, very big. Switch, I think, is going to set the April record this gen, and PlayStation and Xbox are going to be way up. They're going to be up year over year even. So, yeah, good. April is going to be a great month for the industry. GC2F guy. Do you think PS5 will do bundles? Definitely, but not at launch. GC2F guy, I'll be surprised if you see a bundle of any kind at launch, unless it's something like that comes bundled with like PS Now or some PlayStation Plus or something. I don't think you're going to see game bundles at launch unless Sony has some kind of crazy limited edition. Let's say they have a really big game at launch, like a really, really huge one. Maybe some kind of custom, but I don't even really expect that. There will be bundles, but they're going to be later. I wouldn't expect many bundles at launch. That's usually not a time frame you do it because usually you can maximize your sales anyways at launch with games being sold separate, not being bundled. So maybe something, but I wouldn't expect like a ton, like a lot of bundles. Moist and Delicious. What do you think the system sellers for each console will be? Good question. So Moist and Delicious, the biggest one for Xbox at launch is definitely Halo Infinite, without question. Halo is still not, it's not as big as it was at its peak. That's just the truth of it. Halo is not as big as it was during the Halo 3 days where it was just a huge shooter. I mean, it was one of the biggest shooters in the entire world back then. Halo has definitely fallen off from its peak, but it's still huge. Make no mistake, Halo is still a huge franchise. So for Xbox, without a doubt at launch, Halo Infinite is your system seller. In terms of PlayStation, it's all about which IP they can get out the quickest. In terms of if I'm just going to make a prediction, like early, we'll say early in PlayStation's life, those first couple years, the ones I think that will move the most consoles specifically are Spider-Man and God of War sequels. Those are going to be the ones. Horizon's definitely going to move some hardware too. Like I said, it's big. But I think those two really will be your hardware movers, God of War and Spider-Man. Sean Torres, do you think it's possible that the Series S is a hybrid? They really want to enter on the Asia. A hybrid portable is a must. I don't think so, Sean. Definitely Microsoft does want to do better in Japan. They've talked about that. They've talked about how they want more Japanese games. They want more of that. I don't think it's a hybrid. This is something I don't have super inside info on, but I don't think so. I don't think Microsoft's going to approach handhelds, at least not anytime soon. That would surprise me. That would be quite the megaton shocker if it is. I think it's more just there to get people that don't want to spend, probably at least $500 that Series X is going to be still on board for next gen. I suspect, as a guess, Series S is probably going to be like $299. I think it's going to be like a $300 machine. Maybe a bit more, maybe like $350-ish. I'd be surprised if it's $400, because if it's $400 and if it's $400, Series X must be like $600, which I really hope Series X is not $600. That would be, talk about a gamble on pricing. Wow, that would be a risk. Kostas Petrakis, God of War 3 almost double outsold God of War 2. And God of War 4 will probably end up double outselling God of War 3 and then some. Do you think God of War 5 can double God of War 4 if it is critically acclaimed? That would be tough. That would be tough, Costas, because it would need to sell over 20 million. We know God of War PS4 is over 10 million, so it would have to be over 20 million. Ooh, that is tough. That is tough for that type of game. That's hard. That's hard. Costas, I'm not going to say it's an impossible task, but it would be an extreme challenge. Over 20 million, you're hitting crazy territory. The amount of games that sell over 20 million is extremely low. We're talking rarefied company. Even going over 10 million is a huge success. I mean, huge. So over 20, that would be tough. I don't want to call it impossible, because you never want to say something is necessarily impossible, but it would be a steep challenge, especially for a hardcore M-rated game like that. Not impossible, but hard. Walkerman, what's up, Benji? What is up? Horizon Zero Dawn as a trilogy gets me hyped. Yeah, me too. I am excited for that too. Yep, I'm glad to see that it's getting lots of support. Some more responses here in the chat. Practical Bro, do you think if everything goes well, Xbox will gain back its position? This is fun. As the market leader in the US, this is fun. Let's break this down. I definitely think Xbox and PlayStation 5 are going to be extremely competitive in the US, the Practical Bro. It's going to be a tight race. It really is. A lot of people don't realize, because globally, the PlayStation 4 significantly has outsold the Xbox One. It basically is over 2-1 worldwide, double the amount of PS4s. Xbox One is somewhere right around 50 million units, and PS4, the last reporting we had, was at 107 million units, and it's going to be higher than that now. So worldwide, PS4 is really dominating the Xbox, but in the US, even this gen, it's pretty close. There's actually some months recently that the Xbox outsold the PS4. So I don't know for sure that it's going to be market leader in the US, Practical Bro, but I'll tell you this, momentum for next gen Xbox feels a lot stronger than it did Xbox One. So it's going to be close. I actually think PS5 and Xbox Series X are both going to sell fantastic. And I think it's going to be a very, very close race in the US. I think it's going to be close. Russian alphabet user. I love it. I'm sorry I missed your name in the last chat. That's fun. That's fun. Russian alphabet user. Good to see you here. Hey Benji, found some info on Ori sales. On Reset Era, game director mentioned they had 400,000 players after launch. Nice, yeah. Also, Steam Peak Online was higher than the first game. Not bad, probably. Yeah. Yes, we talked about this in the last chat. It was a question. How is Ori doing? Because Ori did not make the top 20. Couple things to consider there. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a cheaper game, and the ranking for the NPD is actually off revenue, not units. So that's going to hurt it. And then also Game Pass. I'll tell you what, 400,000 players at launch for that type of game is really good. You know, Ori is not this giant AAA, huge budget type experience. So if they did 400,000 at launch, I'd say that's pretty solid for the scope of game it is. So looking like Ori probably did decent. Elias Stapleton. If Horizon Zero Dawn 2 was first a PS4 title, yeah, that's part of the rumor, and then shifted to PS5, it wouldn't be the only game. I've heard of other games this happened to. Knowing that PlayStation only announced big exclusive games, the last one in 2017, Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, do you think they're focusing their resources on PS5? Elias, without going too into detail, this would not be the first game I've heard about that started development on PS4 and then became a PS5 game or a cross-gen game. I have heard of at least one other title that this happened with. So I can't go too into detail on that. But that part of the rumor that it started on PS4 doesn't shock me because I have heard of that happening before with another game. Samuel Tolbert. Hey, Benji. What is up, Samuel? With the new rumor that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 has a gigantic scope, co-op, and even a co-op preview with progress carrying over to the full game, do you think it's possible Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is a late 2020 release? Yeah, Samuel, I definitely think it's farther off than I originally thought. Like I said, I originally was feeling pretty good. It was in that first year of PlayStation 5. Now, you know, holiday 2021 would still put it in its first year. It would just be the very end of that first year. So, Samuel, I would say probably, yeah. I don't think it's going to be early now. I originally was thinking it was going to be like more in the first, you know, maybe like 3 to 6 months of the PS5. But adding co-op is going to take a lot of work. That's a big investment. Talking about how huge the scope is. Yeah, Samuel, I would say, yeah, I don't think it's going to be early PS5 now. I think it's going to be towards the end of, well, it's still early, but you know what I mean? Like not right off the bat. I think it's more likely going to be towards the end of 2021. Aceville just came to show my respects to your show as always. Thank you so much. Don't think I have much to say. Guess woot, your Switch statement was vindicated by NPD. Thanks, Aceville. I'm usually pretty on track with video game sales predictions. Not perfect. I don't want anyone to ever assume that my NPD thoughts, my previews, my predictions are bulletproof, but I do enough research and enough work into it. I'm usually pretty close, you know, within the ballpark, we'll say. Javier Macias Leon. Oh, wow. I'm a big fan of that name. That is awesome. Like, seriously, I'm not joking. That's a very cool name. Hey, Benji, do you know anything about the next Final Fantasy? Little bit. Can we expect Final Fantasy 16 for the first year of next gen? Greetings from Spain. Only thing I can say in regards to Final Fantasy 16 is it's been in development now for a while. I'm not going to say anything else other than that. That's all I'm going to say. It's been in development for quite a while. When you'll see it, I'm not sure, but it's not a project that was just recently started. Split End 89. Responding late with my Horizon Zero Dawn 2 question, I would like the game to have an Assassin's Creed Unity style co-op, specific missions. Yeah, Split End, I would like that, or I would like it to just be like a whole separate, like a not story mode, or maybe if it does have a story, it's like own kind of story. Like I said, I do worry a little bit about if the whole entire game is co-op because I really liked, you know, just following Aloy and her story, and yeah, it's going to be risky if it's the whole game. The Practical Bro. Personally, I did not like Horizon Zero Dawn as much as other people, but I still liked it a lot. but the Frozen Wild expansions was awesome. It was so good. I definitely want more of that in the sequel. Yes, you know what? Frozen Wilds really was one of the best pieces of DLC this entire generation, I think. It was such a good add-on. You know, you want to talk about expansions and DLC that's worth your money. That's worth you going out there, spending your money on. I mean, you got an awesome new area to explore. They went way more in depth on some of the lore and the story of that world. You got a lot of new information you didn't have before in the base game. It was excellent. I'm with you. Frozen Wilds expansion was awesome. It was so good. Mayan 67. Do you think Sony's PS5 event will be handled? How do I think it'll be handled going forward? Will they be more like their 2018 E3 or a return to the more traditional E3s of the past? You know, it's a good question because we don't even know when these like big events are going to come back, like the big events with audiences. We still don't really know when we're going to see that come back. When it does, I don't think they're going to do like the super experimental stuff again that you saw with, I think that was E3 2018 with the shifting rooms thing. I don't think that went over well. So no, I don't think you're going to see that ever again. I won't be surprised if you do see cool stuff again, like the orchestra that you saw with God of War or things like that. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But I don't think you'll ever see what that E3 was. That was, from what I've heard of people that were there, I wasn't there, but even the people that were there said it was kind of weird shifting around and all that. And I know it didn't translate that well on TV. MH Jafarian. Hello, hello. I believe we can understand why Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC. Make more people's fan of your franchise. Yep, I've always thought that. Then say there are yet 2 more better Horizon Zero Dawn games, but you can only play on PS5. I agree with you 100%. My thought has always been the Horizon Zero Dawn's PC situation is a twofold approach. Firstly, the game's been out for a long time. You're not going to be missing many console sales putting this on PC, like at all. The game's been out for years and years and years. You've basically already maximized A, its hardware moving impact, and B, just sales of the game. So why not put it on PC? So A, you're getting a boost in revenue you would not normally get from that game. B, you're also getting people very excited about upcoming games. For example, like you said, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, I think there's basically 0% chance that game is at launch on PC. It's going to be PS5 only. Now, eventually, I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 probably will go to PC, but it's probably going to be a situation like this. I don't expect it quick, probably another 3 years or something like that after it releases. You're basically getting a two-pronged approach. You're releasing the game on PC and getting some people that will never, ever buy a console. They're PC-only people to buy your game. And then B, you're getting people a lot more excited to, wait, I did love this game. I don't want to wait for the sequel, jumping in on the console. So I'm with you. Fintendo saying, thanks for the advice on what to explore. For sure, Fintendo, for sure. Always happy to share what I can. Russian alphabet user. How do you feel about PS5 prospects in Japan? 500, 450 could be a tough sell. I've heard that from a lot of people. Yeah. $500 would be a challenge in Japan for sure. I suspect like everywhere else, launch will be good. I think launch sales basically everywhere are going to be really strong, but legs in Japan at that high of a price would be difficult. Lord Hobo. Hey, Benji, have you ever played skate? Oh, yeah. I used to skateboard back in the day. I'm so out of practice now. I would probably, kill myself if I jumped on a skateboard and tried to do the things I used to do. But yeah, I used to be big into skateboarding and all of that stuff. Used to love the Tony Hawk games. Do you think there's any chance of Skate 4 is coming? Maybe. I would put it at maybe. I think that they see the demand for it. People ask EA about Skate 4 constantly. I would say there's a good chance. I wouldn't say for sure, but I also wouldn't be one of those people that says Skate 4 is impossible. It's never going to happen. I would say there's a good chance, Lord Hobo. Matt Duffy. Hey, Benji, big fan. Thank you, Matt. Just wanted to say that you are the man. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. These are incredibly kind words. I'm graduating from college next month with a degree in mathematics. Ooh, and hope to get in the games industry. Nice. Any tips, ideas, advice? Thanks. Great stuff there, Matt. I'll tell you what, I'm someone that's actually pretty bad at math, unless it's like I'm using math strictly in regards to like sales, like looking at percentage increases, decreases, but I'm not like a super math whiz. So anyone that's really good at math always impresses me because it's something that's not my specialty. And my tips and advice, Matt, would be to network as much as you can. Just like everything in life, sometimes who you know helps a lot. So I would definitely do as much networking as possible, even if it's just basic stuff through like Twitter or things like that. Do as much networking as you possibly can. Go out there, talk to devs at some of the studios that maybe you're wanting to look at. Depends on what type of the industry you're wanting to get into as well. But a lot of developers are on Twitter. A lot of people that work at publishers are on Twitter. Definitely get your name out there. Definitely, start talking to these kinds of people, asking them for advice. Let's say you want to get on at, I'm just going to name a random company, Sony Santa Monica. Reach out to some of those people. Ask if they have any advice moving forward, things like that. That's going to be a big, 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 big boost for you. MH Jafarian. Benji, is Final Fantasy VII Remake really, the fastest selling PS4 exclusive? 3.6 million copies in the first 3 days. Thanks for the good work. Okay, so there was a lot of controversy about this online. The strict answer for you, the honest answer, is we don't know. Anyone that you see that's going out there and proclaiming as fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake is the fastest selling PS4 exclusive, that is incorrect. And the reason is because, Final Fantasy VII Remake's number is shipped at 3.5 million in 3 days. God of War sold through to consumers 3.1 million in 3 days. Spider-Man PS4 sold through, not shipped, 3.3 million in 3 days. So basically, the numbers are not directly comparable. Final Fantasy VII Remake could be the fastest, but we don't know how many of those units were sold through. We know it's very high, right? We know the percentage is extremely high of that sell through, but we don't know the exact percentage. So you cannot say it's the fastest selling one because you just don't know. Is it 3 million? Is it 3.1? Is it 3.2? Is it 3.3? That number is completely unknown. We just do not know. So while it's fun to go out and say headlines like, hey, it's the fastest selling, we don't know. The fact is we do not know. I would say it's safe to say it is one of the best selling. You're totally fine with saying that. If anyone goes out and says, hey, Final Fantasy VII is one of the fastest selling PS4 exclusives ever, you're right on the money. We just don't know exactly where it ranks. It's impossible to know. MH Jafarian. Will The Last of Us Part 2 become the fastest selling and most selling PS exclusive of all time? Strong chance. MH Jafarian, there is a strong chance. I can tell you this, the pre-orders were setting records in terms of pace, especially digitally. So it was on track to potentially do it. So MH Jafarian, there's a very strong chance. I would say that. Very strong. Don asking, will The Last of Us Part 2 beat Spider-Man? It's gonna be close. It very well could. It's definitely possible. The Bigelow 25, maybe with Project xCloud and Game Pass, can help in Japan. I know one interesting thing about xCloud is that Microsoft said in Asia it's doing well. I saw that somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head, so sorry I can't direct you to the exact link, but I did see that in Asia. They didn't necessarily say Japan. They just said Asia, that xCloud is doing well there in testing at least. This is all still testing. So it could possibly. Exile saying clearly Blue Point Games game is a knack RPG. Boom. Console seller right there. Knack RPG. 10 million confirmed. Dom Don asking if I'm surprised about Horizon Zero Dawn being a trilogy. No, not at all. Makes sense. Completely makes sense with how well it sold. Here we go. Here's a big sales question and something I do want to talk about. Byko Ciaris. Hello, Benji. Did you check Super Data's estimates for Animal Crossing sales being over 5 million digital in March? If true, then maybe it could have shipped more than 12 to 13 million total in March only. So Byko Ciaris, there is a reason I never share Super Data's estimates. And that's because I know the methodology that they use to arrive at those estimates. And there is a wide range of how accurate it is. So did it ship 5 million? Maybe, but I would not use Super Data's data to come to that conclusion. Definitely not. I don't use that. So I'm going to wait to see what Nintendo says at their investor meeting, because Super Data, I'm not throwing Super Data under the bus. I always love seeing estimates. Heck, a lot of what I do is estimates too. I just know that their methodology is, it leaves a wide range for discrepancy. So that's why I don't share Super Data's estimates ever. Could be that it sold that much. And if so, that would be amazing. Matt Duffy. Also, Benji, sorry for the second question. Never be sorry. Ask as much as you want. I'm not sure if you addressed it already, but what's the deal with Final Fantasy VII Remake physical shortages? Yeah, they're bad. Will there be more stock soon? Thanks again. You know, I wish I could talk more about some of the stuff I'm seeing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, but a lot of that's NDA. So you have to be very careful what you say. The shortages in the US for Remake are just, I mean, unreal. I'm so curious what April NPD data is going to look like in terms of percentage splits, because it's going to be a record for a JRPG. No JRPG ever has sold this high a percentage of digital copies compared to physical ever. There is not a doubt in my mind on that. In terms of what's going on with it, it just seems to be a major disruption from the pandemic. You saw Sony say directly that's why they delayed The Last of Us Part 2. And I'll tell you what, it makes a lot of sense. After seeing how brutalized Remake has been by shortages, you would not want to make that gamble with The Last of Us Part 2. You just would never want to roll the dice like that on what could be your biggest game ever. Yes, some people will switch to digital, but not everyone. Some people are physical only, so they're going to wait until they can get that physical game. Yeah, it's brutal. Here's the good news for Square Enix. When they can finally do a really huge secondary shipment, like a really big one, it's going to be huge. You're going to see that 3.5 million number skyrocket. So Final Fantasy 15 shipped 1 million units in its first month after launch. It did 1 million. 7 remakes, if they have the production capacity, is going to dwarf that 1 million. They're going to ship like 2 or 3 million in its second shipment. I'm not kidding you. That's how bad shortages are. They're going to need to shift like 2 or 3 million copies to replenish. Chun-Li, here's the hard part. Yeah, which EA studio would make a new Dead Space game? That is the question. Who at EA would do it? But I think they should get someone to. I definitely think they should get someone to. Dead Space is too cool of a franchise. I wouldn't let it see, and I wouldn't want it to just sit on the sidelines. But yeah, who would make it? That's tough. Where are we at? 57 minutes. Thanks, everyone. We're up in the 60s again today. I didn't know if we would be, very many people here or not, because it wasn't like a huge news day. But thanks for jumping in, everyone. We'll go for another 10 minutes because there's still some questions here and I missed a lot last time. So I'm just going to hit these questions, everyone. Don't drop a ton more because I don't want to miss anyone today. So we'll go for 10 more minutes and then we're going to call it a chat. Wonder Fizz, do you think we'll finally learn what Ken Levine is working on this gen? Oh, man, I hope. The man is a master storyteller, and we need a new Ken Levine game. I want it so bad, and he's been out for so long. I hope we hear about it soon. I think so. It's been so long. I really hope. NX Hume, Dead Space VR. Oh, my God. Could you imagine? We need to support the underwear industry. Could you imagine how scary that would be? I played Resident Evil 7 in VR, and that was horrifying. It was awesome, but it was so scary. So, yeah, Dead Space VR would be, that would be tough. Mazzio saying, how's your day? It's good, Mazzio. It's good. Always good whenever I can come to a live chat. Moist and delicious. I've noticed a weird thing here in NYC. And the areas where millennials or transplants live, the Switch is sold out. Interesting. But in the areas with a high immigrant populations, the PS4 is sold out. That's interesting, Moist and delicious. I don't have a ton of data on that, like that, that focused on just like the New York City area. So I'm going to go with what you're saying. That's interesting. It wouldn't be hugely shocking to me, especially, if you're talking about like what kind of immigrant population it is. If you're talking about an area with like a lot of Europeans, that definitely makes sense. I mean, it actually makes complete sense because it's huge. The PlayStation brand is a monster in mainland Europe, and also it's become strong in the Middle East. So if you're talking about areas with a lot of people from the Middle East immigrating, that would make sense too, because PlayStation's a massive brand in mainland Europe, especially in the Middle East. Ralph Muster. Hi, Benji. On the NPD chart covering the last 12 months, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Grand Theft Auto 5 are just one spot apart. So they seem to have started selling at the same pace. Both are monsters, Ralph. You want to talk about two monsters. I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is insane. There's a lot of rumors Mario Kart 9 isn't that far off. No idea if that's accurate, but there has been rumors about it. It's almost like, do you even need Mario Kart 9 anytime soon because of how insane the legs are on Deluxe? I mean, who knows? But yeah, they are two beasts, Ralph. Grand Theft Auto 5 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe are just monsters. MH Jafarian, will Series S make the job of video game creators harder? This is an unknown because they have too many Xbox games ready to work on two seriously different machines. So one thing I've seen, MH Jafarian, online at least, let me grab a drink really quick, is that it might not be too big of an issue because the Series S still has the huge upgrade in CPU and it still has the SSD. So from what it sounds like, in terms of like game design, like, the actual core design, not necessarily visuals, the size of the worlds, the scope of the worlds. Sounds like a lot of the changes that are happening are directly from that, really, the CPU and the SSD, and less about the GPU, which, make no mistake, the GPU is still a huge factor. But it sounds like the CPU and the SSD are really what's providing the gains on game design. So I don't think it's going to be as holding back as some people think, because it sounds like it's really just being weaker than the Series X, particularly in the GPU component. So you're definitely going to see way lower resolutions. The rumor is that Series S targets 1080p, whereas Series X is 4K. So that alone saves up a ton of GPU resources. Dropping the resolution that far down from 4K to 1080p is a giant amount of processing difference. So it remains to be seen for sure, MH Jafarian, but it might not hold people back as much as some people think. NX Hume, PS5 and Xbox Series X will sell every box they make in calendar 2020. I agree. I'm with you. The trick is pricing it to sell after. You're right on the money. After the enthusiasts get theirs. It looks bad to drop the price too quick, so maybe bundled games and services. You're right on the money. First of all, you're spot on in what you're saying. I expect launch for both of these machines to be huge, to be sellouts. The demand's there, even with the economy being crazy right now. Yes, 2020 for both is going to be a huge success. My feeling, NX and Hume, is that they should get that price down. If it's $500, I think they need to get it down to $400 within 12 to 16 months. I really think so. I don't think they can stay at 500 longer than that, except for maybe Xbox, since it has the Series S, maybe, but PS5 for sure. If it's $500, 12 to 16 months, they need to get that price down quite a bit. Death Star 100. Benji, when does Nintendo reveal their sales updates? May 7th, I believe. I don't want to say I'm quoting that wrong. May 7th is, I believe, the investor date. It's been moved a couple times. It was originally supposed to be earlier than it is, but May 7th, I believe. And X and Hume, last year you talked about a major PS4 exclusive yet to be announced. Is that a PS5 game now? From what I've heard, yes, maybe cross-gen. But yes, it either moved to PS5 or is cross-gen. One or the other. Death Star 100. Benji, do you expect any other delays on Nintendo's end? Possible, especially with the Pokemon team getting a COVID infection. Here's what I think. I think the games that are probably getting delayed the most right now are games that we have not heard about. I think for everyone, for Nintendo, for Microsoft, for Sony, the games I think that are probably getting the most disruption right now are games that hadn't been announced because there was still so much work left on those. They still had so much to go. So I think games that were closer to being finished, games that were like, if you notice Cyberpunk 2077, they're doing the whole work from home thing now. And they say the game was basically done. It was just crushing out and all the bugs, getting it super, super polished for launch. So something like that, probably less affected than games that are like right in the dead center of their development cycle, where a lot of work really still needs to be done, huge amounts of work to get it closer to the finish line. I think those are the games that probably are getting the most internal delays that we don't know about. Javier Macias Leon, thanks Benji. Hope next gen Japanese games are as good as they were this gen. I agree. What a bounce back for Japan this cycle, right? They big bounce back. A lot of great stuff from Capcom, from Square Enix. A lot of good stuff. So here's an interesting one. The Practical Bro. Do you think Final Fantasy VII Remake 1-year exclusivity will cannibalize sales on PC and Xbox by a lot? I don't think so. I think that game's going to do big numbers on Xbox and big numbers on PC. I think it's going to be a huge success. We know it drove a lot of hardware, so a lot of people did buy PS4s for this game. But I actually think most of those people are probably people that didn't even have a console yet, actually. I think a lot of those people were people that have been out of the loop with games for a while, or they just didn't have a PS4, at all. They'd been out of the loop. I think it was people that were big Final Fantasy VII fans in the past coming in. I don't think it's as many like people that already own Xboxes or already are PC gamers going out and buying PS4s. There's definitely some of that, but I think what a lot of it was people, old school fans jumping in. Zero the Silent Hero. Hey, Benji, when can we hear what you thought about the story and package of Final Fantasy VII Remake? Good question, Zero the Silent Hero. I'm either one of the two. I'm either going to do a live spoiler chat for everyone that's finished the game to talk about that. I've thought about that because it's a game I do want to talk about. Or I'm going to do a video review on the channel. I haven't decided which one yet. Let me know which one you'd rather see. But yeah, either we're going to do a spoiler chat on here for it, or I just don't know if enough people have beaten it that they'll want to talk about it. But maybe if there's enough people that want to, we'll do a spoiler chat on here sometime really soon. Where are we at? 107, 3 more minutes. Benji, any idea how much Microsoft can pay to get a game like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead on Game Pass? Cannot be cheap. Microsoft's dropping some money. So anyone that saw, Grand Theft Auto 5 has been in Game Pass. It's about to leave. And as soon as it leaves, Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming in. An actual dollar amount, Benji, I have no idea because Microsoft does not share anything about Game Pass in terms of we don't know how many subscribers Game Pass has. We don't know what their expenditure for Game Pass is. We have no idea the budget for Game Pass, what they're spending. So Benji, all I'll say is it's impossible to know, but the price tag's gotta be big because Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead still sell. You still see them in the top 20 on NPD. We're not talking about games that are like old, that are just sitting on the sidelines, no one's buying, something that's not really selling. I'm sure it's much cheaper to get on Game Pass, but those games, that is not cheap. Lord Hobo, what's your expectation for Cyberpunk? Huge. I'm very confident CD Projekt Red will deliver a fantastic game, but I was never much of a Blade Runner-esque setting fan, so I'm not super hyped. How about you? I'm ultra hyped, but I am a true CD Projekt Red fanboy. There's not a lot of things I consider myself an actual fanboy of. I try to avoid that, but I love what CD Projekt makes. Like The Witcher 2, when that came out, I was so into that. And then The Witcher 3, obviously, when that came out, I was so into it. So my hype levels for Cyberpunk are extremely high. I hope it turns out good. This is a totally different kind of game for them than what the Witcher series is. So it's going to be a gamble in terms of that. But in terms of sales, expectations are huge, over 20 million. I'm very confident Cyberpunk, as long as it's good, unless Cyberpunk comes out and it's shockingly bad, which would surprise me, over 20 million. Adrian Lasso saying, hey, these streams are popping off. They've definitely increased. There's no doubt. The last couple of weeks have been amazing for the channel. They've been amazing for the streams. Today, we've been over 60 for almost the entire chat. And it's not even a huge news day. So it's amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. All right, Patrick, we're going to get Patrick the last question here. Sorry for those last few I missed, but it's not many, just a couple. We got a lot better today about getting through these. So last question here from Patrick. Hey, Benji, I'm tired from last month of work since I'm a nurse. Oh, Patrick, you are a hero. And I'm not just saying that. You are a hero. I really hope the PS5 reveal is actually this month, like VGC said. I think the Xbox One is a lock, but I really need some PS5. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for everything you're out there doing as a nurse. That's huge. That's huge, 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 huge. You're amazing. I'm sure that you have tons of people that are thankful and grateful that you have helped. So thank you for being on the front lines during this, for being awesome. You're a hero, Patrick. And yeah, I hope PS5 is this month as well. Xbox seems like it's pretty much a lock. I know we didn't actually go into it much this chat, which surprised me. I thought a lot of people were going to be asking about what Phil Spencer said. He hinted that the Series X reveal is very soon. He said it on Twitter, responding. Someone asked him, hey, when are we going to talk about how is the planning going? How's the lead into launch going over there at Xbox? And Phil said the next step is to talk about games. And he said the wait's not going to be long. So it sounds like May is basically a lock for Xbox. You're going to see next gen Xbox games very soon. And I hope PlayStation's as well. Patrick, I still think it's May. So I still think you're going to get it, but I hope. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for entering the chat. Sorry for those last couple questions I didn't hit. It's a bummer, but we've been going for an hour. There's just a few I missed, but I do have to get ready for work. I have work tonight, so I'm sorry for those last couple questions. I hate whenever I leave anyone off, but we're going to do another chat next week. Bring your questions next week. We did 2 this week, so I'm not going to do another one this week, but next week we are definitely back. So have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you on Twitter. I'll see you on YouTube next week. Play some games, have fun, be safe, and I'll catch you in the next stream. Peace. Have a good one, everyone.